My hands trembled as I stared at the email that just destroyed my career. The subject line read, "Immediate termination. Clean out your desk." Inside, the new VP's message was brutal and direct. "Send me the password to the shared drive and clean out your desk. Security will escort you out in 30 minutes." I felt my stomach drop as the reality hit me. 3 years of building client relationships, working overtime, and exceeding every target meant nothing to this man. But then I remembered something crucial about that shared drive. The data belonged to my previous employer under a legal consulting contract I had negotiated when I joined Data Flow Solutions. I typed back professionally, "No password available. That drive operates under my former company's contract. Please contact legal for clarification." 3 minutes later, he forwarded my response to the legal department. 15 minutes after that, legal forwarded it to the CEO with an incomplete message that made my blood run cold. "You need to see this immediately. We have a major problem with..." 6 months earlier, my life looked completely different. I was settled into my comfortable position as senior data analyst at Analytics Plus, managing 3 major client accounts that brought in over $2 million annually. The work was steady. My relationships with clients were strong, and I had built a reputation for delivering exceptional results. Then Sarah from Executive Search Partners called with an opportunity that seemed too good to pass up. "Aiden, I have a unique position that would be perfect for your skill set," she said during our first conversation. "Data Flow Solutions is looking for someone with your exact background to head their new analytics division. The salary increase would be 40%, plus you would have complete autonomy over your department." The offer was tempting, but I had concerns about leaving my established client base. Patricia owned a growing restaurant chain called Mountain View Bistros with locations across Colorado and Wyoming. We had worked together for 2 years, and her business had grown from 12 restaurants to 28 under my analytics guidance. David managed operations for Rocky Mountain Manufacturing, a company that produced specialized equipment for mining operations throughout the western United States. My quarterly reports had helped him identify cost savings that increased their profit margins by 32%. Jennifer directed the Colorado Youth Development Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provided educational programs for underserved communities. My data analysis had helped her secure grant funding that expanded their reach from 3 counties to 11. "I understand your hesitation," Sarah acknowledged. "But what if there was a way to maintain those relationships while advancing your career?" That conversation led to the most unusual employment negotiation of my professional life. When I met with Marcus, the CEO of Data Flow Solutions, I explained my situation honestly. He was a thoughtful man in his late 50s who had built the company from the ground up over 15 years. His office walls were covered with photographs from company retreats and community service projects, showing his commitment to both business success and employee satisfaction. "Your client relationships are valuable," Marcus said after reviewing my portfolio. "I would hate to see that expertise go to waste. What would it take to make this transition work for everyone?" We developed an innovative solution that satisfied all parties involved. I would join Data Flow Solutions as Senior Data Analytics Manager while maintaining my 3 original client accounts through a separate consulting contract with Analytics Plus. The shared drive containing all client data would remain under Analytics Plus ownership, protecting both companies from any potential conflicts of interest. Data Flow Solutions would benefit from the revenue generated by these established relationships, while Analytics Plus would continue serving their long-term clients without disruption. The legal department at both companies worked together to create an ironclad agreement. Every detail was carefully considered, from data security protocols to intellectual property protections. The contract specified that all client information would remain on secured servers, controlled by Analytics Plus, accessible only through encrypted connections and approved personnel. My role would be strictly analytical, providing insights and recommendations while maintaining complete confidentiality for both organizations. Marcus was delighted with the arrangement because it brought immediate revenue without any startup costs or client acquisition expenses. This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need, he said as we finalized the agreement. You will be blazing a trail for future partnerships between our companies. The transition went smoothly. I started at Data Flow Solutions on a Monday in March, and by Friday, I had already delivered preliminary reports to all three clients. Patricia was thrilled to maintain continuity in her analytics support during a crucial expansion phase. David appreciated having consistent reporting during his company's busy summer season. Jennifer expressed relief that her grant applications would continue receiving expert statistical support without interruption. My new colleagues welcomed me warmly. Robert, a senior manager who had been with Data Flow Solutions for 8 years, became a mentor and friend. He showed me the company culture, introduced me to key personnel, and helped me navigate the informal networks that made the organization function effectively. Nancy, from Human Resources, made sure my onboarding process went smoothly, handling everything from parking passes to benefit enrollments with patience and attention to detail. Frank, the head security guard, always greeted me cheerfully in the mornings and often asked about my weekend plans during our brief conversations. For 3 months, the arrangement worked perfectly. My dual role generated excellent results for everyone involved. Patricia's restaurants showed increased efficiency in inventory management and staff scheduling. David's manufacturing operations reduced waste by 18% through targeted process improvements. Jennifer's foundation secured their largest grant ever, totaling $450,000 for new educational initiatives. Meanwhile, I was building strong relationships with new data flow solutions clients and contributing to the company's growth in meaningful ways. Then everything changed when the board of directors decided to bring in new executive leadership. Tyler arrived at Data Flow Solutions on a humid June morning with the confidence of someone who believed he could revolutionize any organization within weeks. He was tall and impeccably dressed with perfectly styled hair and an expensive watch that he consulted frequently during conversations. His resume boasted impressive titles from major corporations, and he spoke in business jargon that sounded authoritative but often lacked substance. From his first day, Tyler made it clear that he viewed the company's existing practices as outdated and inefficient. He scheduled back-to-back meetings with every department head, asking pointed questions about processes that had been working successfully for years. During my initial meeting with him, I explained my dual role and the consulting arrangement that brought significant revenue to the company. This seems unnecessarily complicated, Tyler said, barely glancing at the legal documentation I had prepared. Why are we splitting our focus between multiple employers? It creates conflicts of interest and dilutes our brand identity. I tried to explain the benefits of the arrangement, emphasizing the established client relationships and steady revenue stream. Tyler listened with obvious impatience, checking his phone multiple times during our conversation. We need to streamline operations and eliminate these hybrid arrangements, he declared. Modern companies require clear boundaries and unified reporting structures. I will be reviewing all external commitments to determine their strategic value. Barbara, a data analyst who had been passed over for promotion when I was hired, quickly aligned herself with Tyler's vision. She had always resented my higher salary and special status, despite the fact that my client relationships generated far more revenue than her internal projects. Barbara began documenting every interaction I had with my consulting clients, suggesting that I was giving preferential treatment to outside work while neglecting data flow solutions responsibilities. Aiden spends at least 6 hours per week on Analytics Plus clients, Barbara reported to Tyler during one of their frequent strategy sessions. That is time and expertise that should be devoted exclusively to our company's growth. Tyler embraced this narrative, seeing an opportunity to demonstrate his decisive leadership style. He started questioning my priorities during team meetings, asking why certain data flow solutions projects were not progressing faster. When I explained that my workload included both sets of responsibilities, he suggested that I was not managing my time effectively. Successful professionals find ways to exceed expectations in all areas, Tyler said during one particularly uncomfortable staff meeting. If someone cannot handle multiple responsibilities, perhaps they are in the wrong position. The atmosphere in my department became increasingly tense. Tyler instituted new reporting requirements that seemed designed specifically to create additional work for me. He demanded daily progress updates on all projects, detailed time tracking spreadsheets, and justification reports for any work that did not directly benefit Dataflow Solutions clients. Meanwhile, Barbara volunteered to take on additional responsibilities, positioning herself as the solution to problems that Tyler was creating. My three consulting clients began noticing the changes. Patricia called to express concern about delayed responses to her requests for updated analytics reports. I understand you have other responsibilities, Aiden, but my restaurant chain depends on timely data to make critical decisions. The summer season is our busiest time, and I need those inventory projections by Thursday. David sent increasingly urgent emails about manufacturing efficiency reports that were normally delivered by the 15th of each month. My board meeting is scheduled for next week, and I promised them updated cost analysis data. Can you please clarify when I should expect the completed reports? Jennifer left several voicemail messages asking about grant application deadlines that required statistical documentation. The Foundation's biggest funding opportunity of the year depends on having accurate program evaluation data. I am starting to worry that we might miss the deadline if these delays continue. I found myself working later hours, trying to maintain my high standards for all clients while satisfying Tyler's increasing demands for documentation and justification. Robert noticed my stress and offered support whenever possible. Tyler is making things difficult for everyone, Robert confided during one of our brief conversations by the coffee machine. He seems determined to change everything without understanding why certain systems were put in place. Just keep your head down and focus on your excellent work. This situation will resolve itself eventually. Nancy from Human Resources also expressed concern about the increasing tension in my department. I have been with this company for 6 years, and I have never seen this level of conflict between management and staff. If you need to discuss any workplace issues, please do not hesitate to schedule a confidential meeting. But Tyler was building his case methodically. He documented every delayed project, every client complaint, and every minute I spent on consulting work. Barbara provided detailed reports about my activities, often exaggerating the time I devoted to Analytics Plus clients while minimizing my contributions to Data Flow Solutions projects. Together, they constructed a narrative that portrayed me as divided in my loyalties and declining in my performance. The breaking point came during a department meeting in late August. Tyler announced that he was implementing new efficiency standards for all senior staff members. Moving forward, every employee must demonstrate 100% commitment to data flow solutions objectives. Any outside activities that interfere with our core mission will be eliminated. I realized that Tyler was systematically dismantling the arrangement that had been working successfully for months. He was not interested in the revenue it generated or the client relationships it maintained. His goal was to establish his authority by eliminating anything that did not fit his rigid vision of corporate structure. As I sat in that meeting watching Tyler outline his plans for organizational restructuring, I overheard him whisper to Barbara that he had already identified my replacement and planned to terminate my employment by Friday. My stomach dropped as I realized that 3 months of building tension had been leading to this predetermined conclusion. Tyler had never intended to work with my dual arrangement. He had been planning my dismissal from the moment he learned about my consulting contract. Tyler executed his termination plan on a Thursday afternoon in early September, timing it perfectly when Marcus was attending a 3-day leadership conference in Denver. The executive offices were nearly empty, with most senior staff members either traveling or attending off-site meetings. Tyler knew exactly what he was doing, creating a situation where no one could immediately challenge his authority or question his decisions. The email arrived at 4:37 p.m. just as I was finishing quarterly reports for David's manufacturing company. The subject line was blunt and professionally devastating: immediate termination. Clean out your desk. Inside, Tyler's message contained no explanation, no acknowledgement of my contributions, and no recognition of proper termination procedures. Send me the password to the shared drive and clean out your desk. Security will escort you out in 30 minutes. My hands shook as I read the words again, trying to process the sudden destruction of my career. 3 years of building relationships, exceeding performance targets, and contributing to company growth had been reduced to a 30-minute cleanup period. The casual cruelty of Tyler's approach was breathtaking in its complete disregard for basic human dignity. But Tyler's plan contained a fundamental flaw that revealed his complete ignorance of the legal arrangements governing my employment. He had already scheduled Monday morning meetings with Patricia, David, and Jennifer, planning to introduce them to Crystal, an ambitious junior analyst who had been working for Data Flow Solutions for just 8 months. Tyler had prepared smooth explanations about company restructuring and enhanced service delivery that would supposedly benefit all clients. We are upgrading our analytics capabilities with specialized staff members who will focus exclusively on external client relationships. Tyler had practiced saying to his reflection in his office window, Crystal brings fresh perspectives and cutting-edge methodologies that will take your data analysis to the next level. Crystal had been briefed extensively about each client account. She had studied my reports, memorized client preferences, and prepared detailed transition documents that would supposedly ensure seamless service continuation. Tyler was confident that the clients would accept the change with minimal resistance, especially since Crystal would be offering slightly reduced rates as an incentive for their continued business. Frank, the head security guard, had been instructed to wait in the lobby for Tyler's call. When Aiden provides the password, escort her to her desk and supervise while she packs her personal items. Make sure she does not access any computer systems or remove any company documents. The entire process should take no longer than 30 minutes. Tyler had even prepared a company-wide email announcing my departure, emphasizing organizational efficiency and strategic realignment while carefully avoiding any specific reasons for the termination. Barbara had volunteered to help distribute my ongoing projects to other team members, eager to prove her value and secure advancement opportunities. The celebration in Tyler's office was premature and revealing. He poured himself a glass of expensive whiskey and toasted his decisive leadership with Barbara, who giggled nervously while accepting a small glass of wine. This is how real executives handle personnel problems, Tyler declared. Swift action and clear communication. The board will be impressed by our ability to make tough decisions. Barbara nodded enthusiastically, already envisioning her promotion to senior analyst and the salary increase that would accompany Tyler's recognition of her loyalty. You have shown incredible leadership during this transition period. I am grateful for the opportunity to support your vision for the department. But Tyler had made a catastrophic assumption about the shared drive and its contents. Despite having access to my employment contracts and legal documentation for 3 months, he had never bothered to read the details of my consulting arrangement. He assumed that all company data belonged automatically to Data Flow Solutions, regardless of its origins or the circumstances under which it was created. The shared drive contained 3 years of confidential client information that legally belonged to Analytics Plus, not Data Flow Solutions. Financial records, strategic plans, competitive analysis, and proprietary methodologies were all protected under the original consulting agreement that both companies had signed. Tyler's demand for the password constituted an attempted theft of intellectual property that could expose Data Flow Solutions to massive legal liability. As I stared at Tyler's termination email, I realized that his ignorance of basic legal principles had created an opportunity to expose his reckless leadership. My response was carefully crafted to be professional, factual, and legally precise. No password available. That drive operates under my former company's contract. Please contact legal for clarification. I hit send at 4:42 p.m., knowing that Tyler's reaction would reveal his fundamental misunderstanding of the situation. 3 minutes later, my inbox chimed with his forwarded message to the legal department, accompanied by his own comment. Employee refuses to provide required access. Handle this immediately. Tyler had just handed our legal team a smoking gun that demonstrated his complete disregard for established contracts and proper termination procedures. He had also created a written record of his attempt to access proprietary data belonging to another company, potentially exposing data flow solutions to criminal charges for corporate espionage. 15 minutes after Tyler's forwarded email, my computer screen lit up with an urgent message from Chief Legal Counsel Emma to CEO Marcus. You need to see this immediately. We have a major problem with the new VP's unauthorized termination attempt. He is demanding access to legally protected data belonging to Analytics Plus. This could trigger lawsuits that threaten the company's existence. Call me immediately. I sat back in my chair, watching the legal crisis unfold in real time. Tyler's attempt to demonstrate decisive leadership had instead revealed his dangerous incompetence and created exactly the kind of liability exposure that could destroy a company's reputation and financial stability. His premature celebration in his office was about to become a nightmare of epic proportions. Chief Legal Counsel Emma was in the middle of reviewing contract renewals when Tyler's forwarded email landed in her inbox at 4:45 p.m. As someone who had spent 15 years protecting data flow solutions from legal exposure, Emma immediately recognized the catastrophic implications of Tyler's demand. She dropped everything and called an emergency meeting with her team, summoning intellectual property specialist James and employment law expert Linda to her conference room within minutes. We have a code red situation developing, Emma announced as her colleagues rushed into the room with laptops and legal files. The new VP just attempted to force an employee to surrender data that belongs to another company. If this escalates, we could be facing criminal charges for attempted theft of proprietary information. James quickly pulled up the original consulting agreement between Data Flow Solutions and Analytics Plus, scanning through the carefully worded provisions that protected both companies from exactly this type of conflict. This contract is ironclad. All client data remains under Analytics Plus ownership, with Data Flow Solutions receiving access only for specifically defined analytical services. Any attempt to seize this information would constitute corporate espionage. Linda reviewed my employment file, finding extensive documentation of the dual arrangement that had been approved by Marcus and vetted by the legal department. Aiden has been operating under a legally binding consulting agreement for 6 months. Tyler's termination attempt violates multiple provisions of her employment contract, and his demand for the password could expose us to massive liability. Emma's phone buzzed with an urgent text from Marcus, who was attending the leadership conference in Denver. Just received your voicemail. Can you brief me immediately? What is the extent of our legal exposure? The emergency call with Marcus lasted 45 minutes, during which Emma outlined the potential consequences of Tyler's reckless actions. If Analytics Plus decides to pursue this aggressively, they could sue us for attempted theft of trade secrets, breach of contract, and interference with existing business relationships. The 3 client companies could also file lawsuits for compromising their confidential data. We are looking at potential damages in the tens of millions of dollars. Marcus was furious as he absorbed the implications of Tyler's unauthorized decision. How did he gain the authority to terminate senior employees without consulting me or the legal department? This is exactly the kind of reckless behavior that destroys companies. There is more, Emma continued grimly. I have been receiving reports from other departments about Tyler making similar demands for access to confidential systems and proprietary information. If he has been operating this way throughout the company, we may have multiple legal exposures that we have not even discovered yet. James had been quietly investigating Tyler's activities across different divisions while Emma spoke with Marcus. His findings were alarming and comprehensive. Tyler has demanded access to the human resources database containing employee personal information, the research and development files containing product specifications under development, and the client relationship management system that includes confidential business strategies. In each case, he claimed executive privilege and threatened disciplinary action when staff members questioned his authority. Linda discovered additional problems in her review of recent personnel actions. Tyler has been making termination threats against several employees who questioned his methods. He told the accounts payable manager that her position would be eliminated if she continued asking for documentation of his expense reports. He informed the quality control supervisor that his traditional safety protocols were outdated and that resistance to change would not be tolerated. Emma realized that Tyler's attempt to access my shared drive was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of aggressive behavior that threatened the company's legal compliance and ethical standards. We need to document everything and prepare a comprehensive report for the board of directors. Tyler's actions could expose us to regulatory investigations, client lawsuits, and criminal charges. While Emma's team worked frantically to assess the legal damage, Tyler remained blissfully unaware of the crisis he had created. He spent the evening at an expensive restaurant with Barbara celebrating what he believed was a successful demonstration of executive authority. They discussed plans for restructuring my client relationships and eliminating other arrangements that Tyler viewed as inefficient. Tomorrow morning, I will personally meet with those 3 consulting clients and explain how our streamlined approach will improve their service experience, Tyler told Barbara over appetizers. Crystal has prepared excellent presentations that highlight the advantages of working exclusively with Data Flow Solutions staff members. Barbara eagerly participated in the planning, suggesting ways to position my departure as a positive development for the company. We could emphasize that Aiden's dual loyalties were preventing her from delivering the focused attention that clients deserve. Crystal's exclusive dedication to Data Flow Solutions will be a significant upgrade. Neither Tyler nor Barbara understood that their conversation was academic because Emma's legal team was already preparing documentation that would end Tyler's employment and potentially expose him to criminal prosecution. The shared drive that Tyler was so eager to access contained evidence of proprietary methodologies, client confidential information, and strategic plans that belonged to Analytics Plus under legally binding agreements. By 9 p.m., Emma had completed her preliminary assessment and called Marcus with an update that would cut his conference attendance short. The situation is worse than we initially thought. Tyler has been operating like a rogue executive for 3 months, making demands that violate multiple federal regulations and contractual agreements. If we do not take immediate action, we could lose our business license and face congressional hearings about corporate governance failures. Marcus booked the first flight back to Colorado knowing that Tyler's reckless leadership had created an existential threat to the company he had spent 15 years building. Schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. I want every director present when we discuss Tyler's termination and the damage control measures we need to implement. The legal crisis that Tyler had triggered by demanding my password was about to become a company-wide reckoning that would expose his fundamental unfitness for executive leadership. His attempt to demonstrate decisive authority had instead revealed dangerous incompetence that threatened everything Data Flow Solutions had worked to achieve. As Emma prepared for what would likely be the longest night of her legal career, she reflected on how a single email demanding a password had unraveled months of reckless behavior by an executive who never bothered to understand the legal implications of his actions. Tyler's downfall would be swift and comprehensive, but the damage he had caused would take months to fully repair. Marcus landed at Denver International Airport at 6:45 a.m. on Friday, driving directly to the Data Flow Solutions office without stopping at home to change clothes or grab breakfast. His phone had been buzzing continuously during the flight with updates from Emma about the escalating legal crisis and urgent messages from board members who had been briefed about Tyler's reckless actions. The emergency board meeting convened at 8 a.m. in the main conference room with all 7 directors present, either in person or via video conference. Emma had prepared a comprehensive presentation documenting Tyler's pattern of aggressive behavior and unauthorized attempts to access confidential information belonging to other companies. The evidence was damning and irrefutable. Tyler has created multiple legal exposures that could bankrupt this company, Emma explained as she displayed Tyler's email demanding my password. This demand constitutes attempted theft of proprietary data belonging to Analytics Plus. If they pursue criminal charges, Tyler could face federal prosecution for corporate espionage. Board member Patricia Johnson, who had 20 years of experience in corporate governance, was the first to speak after Emma's presentation. How did we hire someone who displays such fundamental ignorance of basic legal principles? This level of recklessness suggests either criminal intent or complete incompetence. Board member David Rodriguez, a retired federal judge, reviewed the documentation with obvious concern. The pattern of behavior described here goes far beyond poor judgment. Tyler appears to have been operating as though legal contracts and regulatory compliance were optional suggestions rather than binding obligations. Marcus provided additional context about Tyler's unauthorized termination attempt and the consulting arrangement that had been generating significant revenue for 6 months. Aiden's dual role was carefully structured to protect both companies from exactly this type of conflict. Tyler's actions have potentially destroyed a profitable partnership and exposed us to massive lawsuits. Emma had spent the night investigating Tyler's background more thoroughly than the original hiring committee had done. Her findings were disturbing and comprehensive. Tyler's previous employer, Consolidated Business Systems, is currently involved in litigation related to his activities there. They are claiming that he violated non-compete agreements and attempted to steal client lists when he left to join our company. The revelation that Tyler might have brought legal problems from his previous employment stunned the board members. David Rodriguez immediately understood the implications. If Tyler was already under investigation when we hired him, our due diligence process failed catastrophically. We could be liable for knowingly employing someone who was engaged in corporate espionage. Linda from the legal team provided additional details about Tyler's behavior during his 3 months at Data Flow Solutions. Multiple employees have reported that Tyler demanded access to confidential systems without proper authorization. The human resources director documented several instances where Tyler threatened staff members who questioned his requests for sensitive information. Board member Jennifer Martinez, who served as the audit committee chair, was particularly concerned about the financial implications. If Analytics Plus terminates our consulting agreement because of Tyler's actions, we will lose approximately $800,000 in annual revenue. The 3 client companies could also sue us for compromising their confidential data. Emma had already begun damage control conversations with Analytics Plus, hoping to prevent the complete breakdown of the partnership that had benefited both companies. Their legal team is reviewing Tyler's email and determining their response. They are understandably concerned about the security of their client data and our commitment to honoring existing agreements. The board voted unanimously to terminate Tyler immediately with no severance package and a notation in his personnel file that would prevent him from being rehired under any circumstances. Marcus was authorized to take whatever steps were necessary to repair relationships with Analytics Plus and protect the company from further legal exposure. I want to personally apologize to Aiden and request an emergency meeting to discuss resolution, Marcus announced. Her professional handling of this crisis prevented an even worse outcome. If she had provided the password Tyler demanded, We would be facing criminal charges right now. Emma had prepared a comprehensive communication strategy to address the crisis with transparency while protecting the company's legal position. We need to notify all employees about Tyler's termination and reassure them that proper procedures will be followed for all future personnel decisions. We also need to contact our insurance carriers about potential liability coverage. The board meeting concluded with assignments for each member to oversee different aspects of the damage control process. Patricia Johnson would lead the investigation into hiring procedures to prevent similar failures in the future. David Rodriguez would coordinate with external legal counsel to assess potential criminal liability. Jennifer Martinez would work with Emma to quantify financial exposure and develop contingency plans. Marcus called me at 9:30 a.m. speaking with genuine remorse and professional respect. Aiden, I want to personally apologize for the completely inappropriate treatment you received from Tyler. His actions violated every principle of professional conduct that this company stands for. I listened carefully as Marcus outlined the board's response and Tyler's immediate termination. While I appreciated his acknowledgement of the situation, I remained cautious about any resolution that did not include formal protections for my consulting arrangement and guarantees against future harassment. I understand your concerns, Marcus continued. Tyler's behavior was unacceptable, and we want to ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. Would you be willing to meet with me and our legal team to discuss how we can move forward in a way that protects everyone's interests? Before agreeing to any meetings, I insisted on a formal investigation into Tyler's pattern of harassment and the circumstances that allowed his reckless behavior to continue for 3 months without intervention. Marcus readily agreed, recognizing that transparency and accountability were essential for rebuilding trust. As news of Tyler's termination spread throughout the office, employees who had been intimidated by his aggressive management style began sharing their experiences with human resources. Nancy compiled a comprehensive record of Tyler's misconduct that painted a picture of systematic bullying and potential criminal behavior. The board's decision to terminate Tyler was just the beginning of a much larger reckoning that would expose fundamental flaws in the company's executive oversight and hiring procedures. But for the first time in 3 months, I felt optimistic that justice would ultimately prevail and that my professional integrity would be vindicated. Tyler's termination became official at 10:15 a.m. when security escorted him from the building with his personal belongings in a single cardboard box. His confident demeanor from the previous evening had transformed into shocked confusion as he struggled to understand how his attempt to demonstrate executive authority had resulted in his own professional destruction. Barbara watched from her cubicle as Tyler was marched past her desk, realizing that her alliance with him had probably ended her own advancement prospects at Data Flow Solutions. Human Resources Director Nancy immediately began conducting interviews with employees who had been affected by Tyler's aggressive management style. The stories that emerged painted a comprehensive picture of systematic harassment and professional intimidation that had created a toxic environment throughout multiple departments. Jennifer from the mailroom reported that Tyler had demanded access to confidential correspondence between executives, claiming that his position gave him authority to review all company communications. When she explained that postal regulations protected certain types of business mail, Tyler threatened to eliminate her position and outsource mail services to a private company. Michael from the Information Technology Department described Tyler's repeated attempts to gain administrative access to computer systems containing sensitive client data and proprietary software. He kept insisting that executives should have unlimited access to all company information, regardless of security protocols or legal restrictions. When I explained our data protection policies, he accused me of obstructing business operations. Sandra from Accounts Receivable revealed that Tyler had pressured her to provide detailed financial information about specific client accounts, including payment histories and credit evaluations that were protected by privacy regulations. He said that traditional confidentiality rules were outdated in modern business environments and that transparency was more important than bureaucratic restrictions. Each interview revealed another instance of Tyler's fundamental misunderstanding of legal compliance and professional boundaries. Emma compiled these reports into a comprehensive document that would be submitted to regulatory authorities as evidence of the company's commitment to addressing executive misconduct. Meanwhile, Marcus was working to repair relationships with the three client companies that had been affected by Tyler's reckless behavior. Patricia from Mountain View Bistros was relieved to learn that my consulting arrangement would continue without interruption. Aiden's analytics support has been crucial to our expansion strategy. I was terrified that we would lose that expertise because of internal politics at your company. David from Rocky Mountain Manufacturing expressed frustration about the uncertainty that Tyler's actions had created. My board relies on consistent data analysis for strategic planning. The thought that someone was trying to interfere with our confidential business information is deeply concerning. I need assurance that this will never happen again. Jennifer from the Colorado Youth Development Foundation was particularly upset about the potential security breach involving grant application data. Our funding sources require absolute confidentiality about our program evaluations and community impact studies. If that information had been compromised, it could have destroyed our relationships with major donors. Marcus provided written guarantees that the consulting arrangement would be protected and enhanced with additional security measures to prevent any future unauthorized access attempts. The three clients agreed to continue their relationships with both companies, but only after receiving formal legal assurances about data protection. Emma's investigation had uncovered evidence that Tyler's misconduct extended far beyond his termination attempt. Computer forensics specialists discovered that Tyler had been systematically copying confidential files from various departments, apparently building a comprehensive database of company information that he could potentially sell to competitors. Tyler was not just ignorant about legal compliance, Emma reported to Marcus during their afternoon meeting. He appears to have been engaged in deliberate corporate espionage, collecting proprietary information that could be used to damage our competitive position. The discovery triggered an immediate review of all Tyler's electronic activities during his 3 months at Dataflow Solutions. The information technology team found evidence that he had accessed files containing product development plans, client acquisition strategies, and financial projections that were far beyond his legitimate job responsibilities. Crystal, the junior analyst who had been selected to replace me, came forward with additional evidence about Tyler's misconduct. He showed me confidential client files and asked me to prepare competitive analysis reports using information that belonged to other companies. When I questioned whether we had permission to use that data, he told me that successful analysts do not worry about bureaucratic technicalities. Barbara's involvement in Tyler's harassment campaign also came under scrutiny. During her interview with Nancy, she admitted to documenting my activities and reporting exaggerated accounts of time spent on consulting work. Tyler encouraged me to monitor Aiden's schedule and look for evidence that she was not fully committed to Dataflow Solutions. I thought I was helping improve department efficiency. The board voted to place Barbara on probation, pending completion of professional ethics training and a formal written apology for her participation in the harassment campaign. Her advancement prospects were permanently damaged, and several colleagues expressed disappointment about her willingness to participate in Tyler's toxic management approach. Robert, my mentor and friend, was promoted to assistant vice president in recognition of his ethical leadership and commitment to company values. Robert consistently demonstrated integrity during a difficult period, Marcus announced during the Friday afternoon staff meeting. His support for proper procedures and respect for employee rights exemplifies the kind of leadership we want to encourage. Marcus offered me a promotion to senior director with enhanced authority over the analytics department and formal recognition of my consulting arrangement as a valuable partnership model. The new position included dedicated support staff and guaranteed protection from any future interference with my dual role responsibilities. Your professional handling of an impossible situation prevented catastrophic legal exposure for this company, Marcus said during our meeting to finalize the promotion details. Tyler's attempt to intimidate you into surrendering legally protected data could have resulted in criminal charges and massive financial penalties. Your knowledge of the legal framework and commitment to proper procedures saved us from disaster. The resolution felt satisfying and comprehensive. Tyler's aggressive attempt to demonstrate executive authority had exposed his dangerous incompetence and resulted in his swift termination. Barbara's willingness to participate in harassment had destroyed her credibility and advancement prospects. Meanwhile, my commitment to legal compliance and professional integrity had been vindicated through promotion and enhanced job security. As Friday afternoon ended, I reflected on the dramatic transformation that had occurred in just 24 hours. Tyler's termination email had seemed like a career ending disaster, but my understanding of the legal framework had turned his weapon into his own destruction. Sometimes the most powerful response to workplace bullying is simply knowing your rights and having the courage to enforce them. 6 months later, I sit in my expanded office overlooking the Colorado Rocky Mountains, reflecting on one of the most transformative periods of my professional life. The nameplate on my door reads, Aidan Parker, Senior Director of Strategic Analytics, and the view includes a team of 5 dedicated analysts who support both our internal operations and the thriving consulting partnership with Analytics Plus. The dual arrangement that Tyler tried so aggressively to destroy has become a model for innovative business relationships throughout the industry. Patricia's restaurant chain has grown to 36 locations across 4 states, with our analytics support contributing to their expansion success. David's manufacturing company has achieved record profitability through the efficiency improvements we have identified. Jennifer's foundation has secured over $2 million in new grant funding, making them one of the most successful youth development organizations in the Western United States. Marcus has implemented comprehensive executive onboarding procedures that include mandatory legal compliance training and detailed reviews of existing contractual arrangements. No future executive will have the authority to make personnel decisions without understanding the legal implications of their actions. The board has also established oversight committees that monitor management behavior and investigate employee complaints before they escalate into crisis situations. Emma has become a trusted advisor whose expertise in corporate law has protected data flow solutions from several potential legal exposures that were discovered during the post-Tyler investigation. Her team now conducts quarterly compliance reviews and provides regular training sessions for all management personnel about their responsibilities under various federal and state regulations. Tyler's legal troubles continued long after his termination from Data Flow Solutions. The investigation into his activities revealed that he had been selling proprietary information to competitors throughout his brief tenure with our company. Federal prosecutors filed criminal charges for corporate espionage, and he was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. His conviction effectively ended his corporate career and serves as a warning to other executives who believe they can operate outside legal boundaries. Barbara completed her ethics training and eventually transferred to a different department where she has rebuilt her professional reputation through consistent ethical behavior and dedication to proper procedures. While she will never advance to senior management, she has found satisfaction in technical work that utilizes her analytical skills without requiring leadership responsibilities. Crystal thrived in her reassignment to our internal analytics team, where her enthusiasm and fresh perspectives have contributed to significant improvements in our service delivery methods. She often expresses gratitude that she avoided inheriting Tyler's problematic client transition plans, which would have damaged her professional development and potentially exposed her to legal liability. Robert has become an exceptional assistant vice president whose ethical leadership style has created a supportive environment where employees feel safe raising concerns about management decisions. His promotion has inspired other staff members to prioritize integrity over politics, contributing to a more positive workplace culture throughout the organization. The three client companies have become advocates for the consulting partnership model, recommending our innovative approach to other organizations seeking flexible business relationships. Their referrals have generated over $1 million in new revenue during the past 6 months, demonstrating the financial benefits of ethical business practices and long term relationship building. My relationship with Marcus has evolved into a genuine partnership based on mutual respect and shared commitment to legal compliance. He frequently seeks my input on strategic decisions and has publicly credited my actions during the Tyler crisis with saving the company from potential bankruptcy. The board has recognized my contributions with equity participation that aligns my long-term interest with the company's continued success. Frank, the security guard who was supposed to escort me from the building, has become a friend who often jokes about the dramatic reversal of roles that occurred within 24 hours of Tyler's termination email. I have never seen anything like it, Frank laughs. One day, I am preparing to walk someone to the parking lot, and the next day, that same person is being promoted to senior director. Nancy from Human Resources has implemented new procedures for investigating workplace harassment that ensure swift responses to employee complaints. Her documentation of Tyler's misconduct played a crucial role in the federal investigation and demonstrated the importance of maintaining detailed records about management behavior. The consulting arrangement with Analytics Plus has expanded to include joint development of new analytical methodologies that benefit both companies' clients. Our partnership has become a case study taught in business schools as an example of how creative contractual structures can create value for multiple organizations while maintaining appropriate legal boundaries. Looking back on Tyler's termination email, I realized that his attempt to intimidate me into surrendering the password actually provided the evidence needed to expose his dangerous misconduct. His ignorance of basic legal principles transformed what could have been a devastating career setback into an opportunity for professional growth and meaningful change within the organization. The experience taught me that knowledge of your legal rights is one of the most powerful tools for protecting yourself against workplace bullying and professional intimidation. Tyler's aggressive behavior was only effective as long as people were afraid to challenge his authority. Once the legal framework was clearly explained, his entire campaign of harassment collapsed immediately. I have also learned that standing firm on principles, even when facing serious threats, often reveals the weakness and incompetence of those who rely on intimidation tactics. Tyler's demand for the password seemed overwhelming in the moment, but my professional response exposed his fundamental unfitness for leadership and triggered his swift removal from the organization. The most important lesson from this experience is that justice does not always arrive immediately, but persistence and integrity eventually create opportunities for meaningful change. Tyler's 3 months of harassment felt endless while I was experiencing it, but his downfall was swift and comprehensive once his legal violations were exposed. The positive transformation at Dataflow Solutions demonstrates how crisis situations can become catalysts for organizational improvement when leadership is committed to ethical principles and legal compliance. Tyler's misconduct forced necessary conversations about executive accountability that have strengthened the company's governance structure and created better protection for all employees. As I finish writing quarterly reports for my consulting clients on this peaceful Friday afternoon, I am grateful for the courage I found to respond professionally to Tyler's termination email rather than surrendering to intimidation. That single decision to enforce legal boundaries changed not only my own career trajectory, but also the culture and the future direction of an entire organization. Sometimes the most powerful response to workplace injustice is simply knowing your rights and having the confidence to stand firm when others try to pressure you into abandoning them. Tyler learned that lesson the hard way, and his federal prison sentence serves as a permanent reminder that legal principles exist to protect everyone, regardless of their position in the corporate hierarchy. Have you ever faced a situation where someone in authority demanded something they had no legal right to request? How did you respond? And what would you do differently if faced with similar circumstances today? I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most challenging and ultimately rewarding periods of my professional life. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more workplace survival stories, and share this with anyone who might benefit from understanding their legal rights in difficult employment situations. Remember that knowledge is power, and knowing your rights is the best protection against those who would abuse their authority. Until next time, stay strong and stay informed.